Alright, YouTube, it's time for another video. Still driving around. One of my favorite spots, this random ass like car wash here. I think I like it because they sometimes play like 90s songs and early 2000s songs. Reminds me of home. Reminds me of the good old days of like the late 90s when I was like 7, 8 years old. Um, but this video is a quick video, or I don't know, maybe it won't be, I don't know, but it's mostly going to be about how I think young men, and we talk about the young male crisis, and I don't know if I'm part of that demographic anymore, being in my mid 30s, but well, I mean, it's hang on, shit, okay, um, but being now that I'm kind of getting close to my mid 30s, I will say this, I don't know if I'm part of that young male crisis demographic, but I mean, this issue's been going on for, I would say, since the early 2010s. And it's only been finally starting to talk about a little bit. But the thing is that really annoys me is I think that a lot of younger men don't realize how much of this problem is older men's fault. And you're now bearing the brunt of a lot of older men's advantages. So you might hate how the loudest people who criticize male privileges or whatever the fuck feminists talk about, yeah, that is predominantly women. Or maybe younger women who like take a feminist class in college and then get kind of angry at younger men or whatever. And you might that might annoy you because those women are the ones you have more direct contact with, and also they're the ones you're trying to like go out on a date with, maybe. And it just seems like they're not interested, and it's lonely. I get that, and I have my issues with. I wish women were more interested in dating. I think that's my biggest criticism of the left. They just don't quite understand that a lot of women just aren't interested in dating. But the thing that really I wanted to talk about, though, is the older men are the ones who are kind of getting a lot of this advantage or whatever, right? And they're the ones who are kind of like the problem. Now, what I mean by that is, one, a lot of these older men, and I would say it's like starting from really anybody born in like I don't know, I've talked to some people born in the late 70s at my job, and they're now getting kind of close to 50, and they seem to act like not much has changed over the past like 20 years. So like 20 years ago, somebody born in 79 or 78, that's like a late Gen Xer, that's a very young Gen Xer. 20 years ago, they're 47ish now, so they were 27, and it's like, well, 20 years ago was 2005, and I was entering high school around that time, starting it, and I will say, like, I see a little bit of difference now. Granted, maybe it's just because I've definitely aged. I've had a more development part of my lifestyle, the lifespan. You age more from 18 to whatever 34 or whatever, um, than you do 34 to the equivalent of that would be like what 48 or something. I don't know if I math that out. But anyway, a lot of these men born in like the late 70s, it seems like they've kind of were the ones who were like the guinea pigs of this. Maybe somebody born in like the mid 80s, I would say, basically millennials and later. So I might include some of Gen X here, but most of Gen X and the boomers, they kind of the men there, they might have had these advantages that a lot of like people talk about with like male privileges, and I do see that, right? I kind of even see that a little bit with my own mom and dad, but definitely with like older coworkers that I work with. You kind of see like their male. I don't know if I'd say like privilege, but it's like there is like a certain aura or chauvinistic kind of. I don't know if chauvinist. That's a little bit of an extreme word choice, but this level of just like confidence that like a lot of younger men just don't have. And you might say that maybe we will develop that confidence in enough time, but I don't really see that happening. I see more men just like having younger men are just their heads buried in the sand, just trying to, just do their work. And The younger women I see have plenty of confidence, actually. If anything, I just seen the reverse. Like, the young women have way more confidence. The young men, again, I don't know if I include myself there anymore, but, I'm youngish. We don't have any self-confidence at all. And I'll admit to that. My self-confidence isn't particularly high. But these older men, like, a great example of this is why I think MAGA just sucks ass is, look at these these MAGA dudes running the country. I mean, Donald Trump is married to a woman who I believe I might be closer in age to Melania, being in my early to mid 30s, than Melania is to Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump's, I believe, about 30 years older than Melania. I believe Melania was born in 70, 71, 72. So that means she would be about 20-something years older than me. Well, if she was born in the 70s, she'd be like 22 years older than me. And Donald Trump was born in 1947, 6. So she is like 23, 24 years younger than Donald Trump. So technically, I'm a little bit on the cusp, closer to age to her than she is to him. A better example of this, though, is RFK, especially with what he's been doing recently in the news with his stupid little love letters to some random chick. This random girl, I believe, is younger than me. I believe she's born in the mid-90s. And to be fair, also, she was romantically linked to a more left-leaning political person, Keith Olbermann, who is also like 30 years older than her, while RFK is, I think, maybe like 50 years older than her. And he's like writing like love letters to this girl. RFK is, maybe Olbermann did too. But RFK is like writing these like love letters to this girl who's younger than me, I believe. And I'm like, dude, you're 70 years old. Like, what the fuck? Like, you're 70 fucking years old. So, if you're 70 years old and you're still like thinking it's like your time to like get with a girl who's in her, early 30s or late 20s or something, it's like, man, like, these older MAGA dudes are the problem. They're the ones, it's like, they're the ones who are really ruining the dating game more than anything else. Now, you could say it takes two to tango and that girl is selecting her. Now, that may be true, but it's like, it's also on the guy who is, the main issue then is just, there's just not enough women, because it seems like you're, as a dude who's in his, in his early mid 30s, I'm competing against, even for women who are, I'd go out with a girl as young as like mid 20s and as old as like late 30s. And, I'm competing against apparently 50-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 70-year-olds now with the case of RFK. It's like, it never ends. So, to me, the main issue is older men who haven't aged very gracefully and just can't accept the fact that, your turn as this young buck is over. RFK, I promise you, had plenty of chances to score with women throughout his 20s, 30s, and 40s. It's not his time anymore. Younger men, I mean, it's barely even my time. It's like, and I would say, when you're in your 30s, as I've lived more and more of my 30s, I'll say that I don't feel that much different from my 20s, but some things I do feel a little bit different in. But yeah, I think there's a lot of people out there who don't realize, like, a lot of your anger, if you're like a 22-year-old dude, like, a lot of your anger really shouldn't be towards women of your age. And if you have that anger, I hope you get rid of it, because, there might be, really what it is you should be really more angry at the older generations, for especially the men. But, the older women also seem to be mentoring the younger women, and nobody really cares about the younger men, right? Older men are trying to steal your women that are your age, that you should be going out on a date with and growing a little bit. And okay, you made a mistake with, you fucked up and you said something silly in front of on the first date, and now she doesn't want to. Okay, it's like you move on and you find, it's like, okay, not everybody's compatible. You move on, but you want the opportunities to meet people and meet women. And it seems like to me that there's the demographics and the fact that there's like 4 generations of dudes now competing over like a generation, maybe 1.5 generations of women. Younger men are just going to get screwed. And I also think that it's like, okay, well, why can't these, 22-year-old dudes, what do you want them to do? Date some 70-year-old chick? I mean, come on. So it just seems like to me that a lot of these older males are your problem. Now, older women are also kind of part of the problem because they're also kind of elevating and mentoring younger women who are then, so it's like younger men are just like on their own. And that's really what I think the crisis of younger men is. It's just like all facets of the game, younger men just feel like they're alone. But I don't think that MAGA really understands that, right? And I think they're actually part of the problem here. Again, Donald, if you had a girl, if you're a 22-year-old dude and you're dating some 22, 21, 23-year-old girl, and Donald Trump wanted to fuck her, you'd have to give her over in tribute. It's like that's what he would make you do. He would do anything because Donald Trump only cares about himself and his dick. He doesn't care about you. So it's like, yeah, I have some criticisms of the feminist stuff, but it's like I'm tired of younger men not realizing that MAGA is as big, if not a way bigger problem. It is. And I've been saying this as, pretty much from day one of my video vlogs, which, nobody watches, so that's fine. But, I don't want those people on there. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of younger men that need to understand that MAGA isn't good for you. It's bad for you. You don't have to be a militant, far left, blank slate, socialist, feminist, progressive. There's some stupid shit on that end too. But MAGA's worse. MAGA's just going to ruin your life. They don't care about you. The older men who are still running the show don't care about you. Hell, even a lot of these younger men who were watching Andrew Tate videos. I mean, Andrew Tate's approaching 40, if I recall. If not, he's already 40. And yet, he's still trying to fuck the 25-year-old girl. I mean, Kash Patel is not super old. He's in his early 40s. He's dating a girl who's 25, 26. Bill Belichick was a big Trump supporter. He's dating a girl who's 24. Do you not see the pattern here? Now, again, Kash Patel and Andrew Tate are a fair bit younger than RFK, Donald Trump, and Bill Belichick. But they're going down the same path. Again, Andrew Tate, I believe, is 40. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe he's 38, 37, 39. Why is he only still, it's like he's not, why isn't he married to a woman who's, a few years younger, his age, or maybe a year or two older? I mean, I work with mostly people older than me, and there are women who are in their late 30s, early 40s, and maybe even late 40s at my job, who I would, if they asked me to, you want to go fuck in the bathroom, I'd be like, hell yeah, you're hot, I don't care. And they're not all, and by the way, if you can't find hot chicks I hate the racist people too, because it's like, there are some women in my job who are late 40s and from India, and they kept themselves fucking in damn good shape, and they're pretty fucking hot, and I'd go out on a date with her, and I don't care what the fuck my kids look like, and I know there's some fucking white nationalist fucks who they have to look like me. It's like, dude, if you're with a girl who's fun to be with and hot as fuck, I mean, I don't care what race she is, and they're still, by the way, your kids are gonna still look like you, okay? That's fucking stupid to think otherwise. Maybe they'll have a slightly different skin tone. Who the fuck cares? So yeah, MAGA, the older men of MAGA have really, really warped the brains of younger men. Again, you don't have to be a blank slate, feminist, socialist, communist pinko. But goddamn, thinking that Trump cares about you and RFK cares about you when all these guys are trying to ruin your life and stunt your growth as you become a young adult. It's like, these are the problem, man. These people, the number one common denominator I see of anybody who votes for Trump, who's especially over the age of 40 or 45 or 50, they're just men who have aged poorly and they don't know how to age gracefully. And this notion, again, I've spent enough time interacting with right-wing manosphere types, and they think a woman turns 30 and she ages like shit. I don't know, bro. I've seen a lot of dudes who look fat as fuck and they're complaining of like again, I work out a lot, right? I work out. I'm gonna probably go to the gym after this video, and I see a lot of guys who might even be younger than me. Honestly, they might be in their late 20s, and they're already starting to look like shit too. A lot of fat people, and it's a lot of men. So I don't agree with this notion that like women age like shit and men age like amazing. I see a lot of dudes and a lot of my coworkers who are a little bit older than the ones that are a little bit older than me, like in their late 30s. Like they're already talking about like shoulder problems and shit. And I'm like, did you play football? Like if you played some violent sport like football or rugby or something, I could see why you have shoulder problems. And like, no, I'm just old. It's like, dude, you're not old. You're 37, right? I mean, I'm gonna be that in a few years, and it's like I mean, unless I'm gonna really, really like, it's like you just let yourself go. You aged like milk. You aged like the women you bitch about for they turned 30, they're old, they're gross and fat and shit. And it's like, dude, that's not how this shit works. Okay, I promise you. There are plenty of like, there might be a small window where like a dude, in his like mid to late 40s, where he's like maybe slightly better off in terms of like the aging process than like a woman of that age, because that's kind of right around menopause starts for most women around sometime in their like early 40s, if I recall. Maybe there's like something there, but by the time I don't know, by the time when I look at my 50-year-old coworkers, I see a lot more men who have let themselves go than the ladies. I'm gonna be real. Maybe the 50-year-old women aren't as hot when they were, 25, but I'm sorry. I mean, that's fair, but it's like, that's the same thing with the dudes. So I don't think that, I just don't believe this whole, like, men age better, we age better. It's like, no, if you let yourself go, you're gonna look like shit regardless of gender. And you can stay looking pretty good well into your 40s now, regardless of gender, as long as you're like a normal, you don't eat like shit, you're not having pizza every day, you're not drinking 6 packs of beer every day, and you're not, and you're doing some level of physical activity. So anyway, yeah, to the younger MAGA men, um, all of these online right wing dudes. The vast majority of them, especially when they talk about dating dynamics, are grifting. And also, if they're significantly older than you, like in their 40s, 50s, and older, they're really just trying to snatch women up your age and really stunt your growth, because they aged poorly and they're miserable people. So I recommend to give a little bit of a actual recommendation of what to do. And this is mostly from my example of what, because I wish I did this when I was in my early to mid 20s, but um, like seriously, like spend some time writing, maybe even writing down on like in a notebook or something, or like don't just write on your stupid fucking phone. Have like a physical copy. It's okay to have physical copies of shit. Write down some things you fucking like about yourself and things that you want to do and you like to do. And I don't care if it's childish, like, okay, it's like, for example, you go to a Target and there's like fucking 50-year-olds camping out to snatch up the Pokemon cards. It's like, okay, well, that's a little bit extreme and sad and pathetic. But if you want to be in your 40s and 50s and you're still playing video games, I don't see a problem with that, as long as it's not something that's like you're doing all day that you can't have a normal adult life, right? If you are just sitting in your room, at your parents' house into your 20s, 30s, 40s, and beyond, and you're just playing video games for 10 hours, well, there's a problem. But if you are willing to, it's like if you want to play video games for a few hours a day after work, and you're 30 years old and you're 40 years old and beyond, I have no problem. I think that's healthy. I think that's something you should do. It's like you like to do it, and it's not something that you're doing so much that it's ruining your adult life. So that's what you should do. You should write down the things you like to fucking do and go pursue them. But stop watching all this online stuff. Stop spending so much time on the fucking internet. And go outside, meet new people, try new things. and enjoy your life. Just my thoughts, and I'm out.